And if you do miss a queen cell, so when I'm having queen cells, if I was going to destroy any cells, I would always leave 2, because if one's not viable, the other one is most likely. Out of 2, I'm going to get 1 good queen for sure, mostly. And removing your queen cells is really only going to buy you some time. 6 days, they're back to queen cells again, and you may get in there in 8 days and realize they're gone. So I have capped queen cells. What do I do? So this is the same thing as a split. This is what Blake was talking about. You can do a forced swarm. Capture the old queen. We do things a little differently when we're trying to find our queen. It's kind of similar to what Blake said. We take a deep and we take a queen excluder and we nail it to the bottom. And I take that queen excluder and I put it on my new deep and I shake my frames into it. So all of the bees can go, worker bees can go in between the queen excluder, and what's left in the bottom of the box is my queen. That's how we find our queens, especially with a large population. It works pretty well. Then you can capture your old queen. You can move her into a new box with half your bees. Once you've got her in a queen clip or in a queen cage, then you can separate your hives. If you're not going to move them very far, you can do what Blake said. You can put an extra frame of brood in this one and a little less in that one, and put your queen in. These bees aren't going to have foragers because you're going to do this during the day and your foragers are all out foraging. So you want to feed them. And you're going to destroy all but 2 queen cells in the old hive. And again, this is because you want to make sure that you have a viable queen out of the 2, and having 2. So any more than 2 cells increases the chances of secondary swarms. So a secondary swarm is, let me see if I've got it. I've got it on a different slide. Secondary swarms happen 10 days after a prime swarm. So during a swarm, your queen, the worker bee is going to stop feeding the queen. She is going to stop laying eggs. Her abdomen is going to shrink so she can fly. They're too heavy to fly when she's in full laying mode. The old queen leaves with half the workers and the drones stay behind. Your workers, they're going to start bearding on front of the hive. If they leave and they realize that there's no queen with them, they'll come back and they'll do it again. They'll try and do it till they get a queen to go with them. They'll start filling up on honey. Your queen cells, your new queens hatch out. Your first queen out may kill the other queens in their cells, or she may not. A virgin queen may swarm. This is your secondary swarm. Within 10 days of a prime swarm, if another queen cell is not destroyed and it hatches out. So your virgin queen comes out. She doesn't kill the other queens in the cells. She's sort of hanging out doing her thing. Another queen hatches out. She decides, oh, I don't like this. She takes half the workers and leaves. This could happen like 3 or 4 times within a 10-day period of that first prime swarm. Your hive could go to nothing. So that's why I only like to keep 2 queen cells, because I want to make sure I have a viable queen, but I also don't want to have secondary swarm after secondary swarm after secondary swarm. If your virgin queen stays, she flies out to a drone congregation area. That's where all the boys hang out, and she mates. So this is a mated queen. This is a virgin queen. She's got a much longer abdomen. She's kind of a lot easier to see. I mean, I realize that queens are hard to see in the first place, but a virgin queen is a lot harder to see in a hive than a mated queen. So trying to find out if you have a mated queen, if you have a virgin queen, did this hive swarm? This is hard. You'll want to make sure that you do any splits, anything you do, hopefully before you have a virgin queen you have to try and find. Your bees have left the building. The swarm is on the move. They usually cluster pretty close to their original hive. Queens may even walk to a temporary location. Swarms can be up to 50 feet in the air. So this is a great swarm. This swarm was like 30 feet up in the air, and this is kind of why I wear my suit. So I was standing under this swarm with a cardboard box under my head, and Matt, my partner, was up on a ladder, and he had a broom, and he's trying to get the swarm down, kind of knock them off of the broom, and I'm just standing there with a cardboard box on my head, raining bees. It was fun. Fun with swarms. So the bees have left the building. They usually cluster pretty close to the hive. They only stay several days until a new location is chosen. If someone calls you and says, I have a swarm, what do I do? I don't know what to do. If you can't get to it and help them out, and if you don't know anybody that can help them out for a couple days, you can tell them they'll go in a couple days. They won't stay long. They're transient. They're moving on. 3 to 5% of your swarm population are scout bees, and they do, well, I apologize for my slide there. They do waggle dances to communicate the new location they have found. And then the committee decides where they're going to go. The new location is chosen, and the bees move into a permanent home. So this, it's a little harder to see. This is kind of an interesting thing. This is the swarm on this tree. This is a box we pulled up. This is one concrete block off the ground. I'm pretty sure that this queen was really fat and heavy, and she couldn't get very far. She walked over there and climbed up that tree, and we set a box. We put that concrete block, and we put a box there, and they walked right in. This is about 10 o'clock at night, too. So it's amazing. You're like, what is this? What makes a new home attractive for bees? Close to a water source. The scout bees are looking for a dark, hollow place. This is an owl box. This is actually a swarm. They hadn't moved in, but it was an owl box that they had kind of taken over for the moment. A cavity of about 10 gallons, and above ground, 15 feet or higher. Entrance of less than 3 square inches. This is where they're going to move to for good. Swarm capture. How do I reclaim my own swarms? So you can put a swarm box up in your apiary. A scion trap is an easy trap to put up in your apiary. It looks a little different. This is usually we have a frame. We just take a frame and we mount it on a board and we hang it up over a tree and try to catch our swarms as they're leaving our apiary. The equipment that we take, we keep this in our cars. We have 2, 1 in each car, so we're always ready. A nuke box, a closed-up hive box, a cardboard box. My absolute favorite is a bucket with a paint strainer. You can get a paint strainer from a paint place for about $2. We shake them into a bucket and we put a paint strainer over it. Sometimes we put a rubber band around it. Sometimes we don't. Put it in the car and drive home. Pruners, loppers, or bow saw, that's to cut them off a branch because they're usually on a branch on a tree. We take a bottle of sugar water, we spray the swarm down, and they just drop like a big ball right in there. Pole. I'll show you pole. So that is a bucket on a pole because I'm short. It also, I just prop it right up there, boom, plop them in, put my paint strainer on it, put it in the car and drive home. White cloth. So this is a really interesting thing. Swarms on the ground. I had a friend who called me and he said, I'm going to go get a swarm. Is there any kind of special equipment I need? He told me everything he brought. I said, did you bring a white cloth? He said, what do you mean that I bring a white cloth? I'm wearing a white t-shirt. I said, well, take it off. You can put it on and put whatever you're putting your bees into, you put the white cloth in front of them and you watch the bees march in. They just go right in. There's his t-shirt. That's his little swarm box he carries around with him. He said, I just sat back and off they went right into the box. Easiest swarm ever. Swarm capture, bait boxes. We put ours in drone congregation areas. We put ours in areas of previous swarms. So there's been some research that has shown that bees will a swarm will go to the same place that a swarm has been for 20 years. Same exact place, every single time, every year. So if you know of an area that's had swarms, if you've picked swarms up, when we pick up swarms, we ask, can we come back next year with a box and leave it here so you won't have to worry about this? They won't get into your areas you don't want them to go. Nuke box, the scion traps that we showed earlier, plastic or wax cardboard nuke boxes. There are a ton of plans on the internet for all kinds of swarm traps. You can buy pressed cardboard swarm traps from Amazon. They're all over the place. And don't be afraid to use old new boxes. You do not have to use new equipment to capture a swarm. They like old, nasty, grungy wax. They like old frames. They want it to smell like bees. They want it to smell like honeycomb. So we put lemongrass oil in. This is also lemongrass that you can put inside. Frames with old honeycomb. You can buy swarm lure on the internet. Where to put it? So the best place is to install a bait box at 10 feet or higher. Install it in a shaded area, tree line, or a flat roof is a great place too. This is one of our traps, and it is none of those. The reason we have it where we have it is because we have pulled 3 swarms out of this one area last year. I feel pretty confident, and one of them was on that fence post, was very low. I feel confident these bees will be okay, and within 5 minutes of putting it there, we had bees checking it out already. I've captured a swarm in my box. So you want to remove it in the evening, preferably after dark, because your foragers are coming back. You don't want to miss those. You want to make sure you get them all. If you come back, I don't know, 9 o'clock, sometimes we go 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, won't be a bee flying anywhere. They'll all be in the box. We quarantine them in a special apiary. We add a frame of uncapped brood. So this is what keeps the queen from leaving. She has babies to take care of. Give a mama a baby and she is happy. We keep them sealed up for several days, and then after 48 hours, so they've engorged themselves on honey, so they're not really hungry when they are in the middle of a swarm, so we wait a while to feed them. I've gotten a swarm call. So these are the questions that I ask anybody who calls me and says, oh, I have a swarm, I have a swarm. How long has it been there? It's been there for 7 weeks. That is not a swarm. Have you called anyone else? Yes, 4 more people. You're the first one that answered the phone. By the time I drive 30 minutes to get that swarm, 2 other people that you called earlier who live 10 minutes away have answered, come and picked it up. How high up? This is my favorite. Oh, it's 4 feet off the ground, 30 feet. Do I need a ladder? No, always bring a ladder. Can you send me a picture? Again, this is very helpful. People have different ideas of what high up is, what a swarm is, so I always try to get a picture too. So I've gotten a swarm call. So when I go to the swarm call, I get my container, whatever I'm using, and I get my bees into it. I brush them in with a broom, I clip the branch they're on, and I drop it in. I spray them with sugar water first, put them in. However I'm getting them into my box. If they are up high and I couldn't just clip a branch and put them in and there's bees flying everywhere, I wait about 20 minutes. If the queen is still on the branch, all the bees here go up there. If the queen is in the box, all the bees in the air and on the branch go into the box. So you wait about 20 minutes to see which way they're going to go, and you try it again if she's not in the box. So one of my favorite things is we try to make sure our box is completely sealed before we drive home, because this was after we got home an hour away on a swarm call. We did not seal this box adequately. So luckily no one looked in the back on the ride, or we might have had an emergency pullover on the side of the road. So this is a swarm call that we did. They came out of here. It's a very tiny swarm. Last fall we had swarms up until November. It was very late, and they were very tiny. So you've gotten your swarm call, you've gotten them in your box, you've waited to see where your queen is she up, is she down, and then you walk away, come back in the evening, all the bees are gone, they're all out of the air, they're all in your box, all your there's no foragers, everything is just settled in for the night, close it up, bring it home. We take it to our quarantine yard, we add a frame of uncapped brood, we put them into a box. Add a frame of uncapped brood. We keep it sealed up for 7 days or several days, and then we feed after 48 hours. So this tiny little swarm, I had to feed much longer than just a few days. This was probably November, and right after I caught them, we had a period of 10 days of rain, and I had put a frame of honey in there that I had in my freezer from another hive, and these guys, unfortunately, were just too small, and I didn't get back to them fast enough to feed them, and they didn't make it. So if you're going to catch a really tiny fall swarm like this, or a secondary swarm late summer, but it's real tiny, you might really want to hit the feed to them. Our quarantine yard. So we have a quarantine yard. It is our backyard. We have an apiary somewhere else. And we put our bees there. We watch for disease. We watch for pests. We watch to make sure they're not going to abscond. You know, we just keep an eye on them, see if we need to feed them more. Bees that are general in a swarm mode can actually be a little cranky once you get them in your yard. You don't want to put them in your primary apiary, find out you've got a really aggressive hive that all of a sudden you can't work any of your bees, including these. What to do with a captured swarm hive? Oh, yeah, I've got a question and answer at the end, but you can ask now.
How far away does this secondary place need to be for those that don't have an apiary?
Oh, well, just somewhere, you know, you don't want it to be someplace that has high traffic. Again, what if they're aggressive? You don't know anything about these bees. It's like bringing a new dog into your house. It can be close. It doesn't have to be very far away. It just has to be somewhere where there's not a lot of high traffic. Maybe there's not kids, just not people who would mess with them. You want them to kind of settle down and just be able to go back out quickly, you know, and check on them. Because I check on them, I usually check on mine after 6 days. I kind of unseal them after 3, and then I go check on them after 6 days and just sort of assess the health of the hive, right? So, and I don't want to take any bees or pests, you know, if they're infested with varroa or they have nosema, I don't want that in my regular apiary. So it's less of a matter of them being you know, having to separate them because they'll bother the other hive as much as I just want to be able to keep an eye on them. And I don't want them to irritate anyone. So it is highly unlikely that a swarm will cast off another swarm in the same season. So if you capture a swarm and you take it home, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to cast off another swarm. But a hive that has cast off a swarm, this is the hive that you had in your apiary that swarmed, not a swarm you caught. They are very likely to swarm several times in the same season. This is that secondary swarm. It could be the genetics. It could be this particular queen likes to swarm. So your swarm that you caught in your bait box or that someone called you and you went and you picked up, you don't really have to worry about them swarming as much. A hive that has cast off a swarm, you're going to watch them every year. You know that they're kind of have a tendency to swarm. So clipping the queen's wings. I know a lot of people will get a swarm and they take it home and they'll clip their queen's wings because they don't want her to abscond. That works as long as you have a mated queen. If for some reason they took off with a new queen, you have an unmated queen that's not going to, again, you have a hive with no queen. Sometimes your swarms will abscond. You get them home. Boy, there's nothing worse than working 2 hours. You get it. It's 30 feet up in the air. You climb up the ladder. You load up your truck. You get over there. You get the swarm. You get it all home. You go back, pick it up, take it home, unload your car. You wake up the next day. They're all gone. Nothing makes me madder than to get up where you kick in the box. Dang it. If you add uncapped brood, again, you're giving that queen some babies. You're giving her something to do. And I've, in a pinch, added capped brood, and it's worked. It was in a pinch. Because truly with capped brood, there's really nothing to do. It's just brood. But uncapped brood, they actually have to take care of. But it's worked. It's worked. How to use swarming to your advantage. Swarming is a natural, healthy way for bees to reproduce. It's normal. A forced swarm ensures that you have queen cells for a split. So when you do a split, and so I'm hoping that when I split, that the bees will take these eggs and turn them into queen cells, and she'll leave, and that'll work. If I kind of wait until I get queen cells, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do a split right away. I'm kind of at an advantage because I already know that I'm going to have queen cells, and I'm a little closer into the process of having a mated queen laying eggs again. I don't have to wait as long for the bees to take an egg and develop it into a queen cell. Using bee breeds with high swarming tendency is bee balms. So you can use bees to produce bees, and bees to produce honey, bees to produce queens, whatever you're trying to do. So using a bee breed with a high swarming tendency as a bee balm, they build up huge populations, certain breeds, Russian for example. So you can go in and you can take that box and I can make bees and I put them into my honey production hives so they have more workers, they have more brood. It's happening all the time, and I'm not overwhelming them by making a whole split. I'm just putting one frame of brood and bees in at a time, and I'm keeping this box from swarming. So I'm kind of doing double duty and just sort of growing bees. So you can use that to your advantage. It also breaks the brood cycle for integrated pest management, so swarming is not always a bad thing. I always hope you're as happy in your apiary as this cat is under one of our hives. Question and answer. Yes? Oh, I close the box up. Like, however I close it up to bring it home, I don't take it home right away and rip that tape off the front. You know, we tape them, we put a piece of screen over the entrance and we tape it up, because usually we use a nuke. I don't pull that off for a couple days, I leave it. Yeah, we take a piece of 8-inch hardware cloth, or I use a metal window screen, and I just tape it all around the entrance, and I tape it over the center hole in the inner cover so that it's ventilated, it's got screen, they just can't leave. Well, they've eaten, remember they've gorged themselves before they left. You don't have to feed them for like 48 hours anyway, so they're okay. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. Uh-huh.
But it's during storm season, so somebody else's storm is going to come through eventually, right?
Sure.
So would you put your lure in your hive, in a hive or a box, I guess at your quarantine yard, because you don't want to lure them to your yard? Would you put it?
Why wouldn't I want to lure them to my yard?
For the same reason that you move into your quarantine yard. You
Oh,
don't want to.
swarm. Okay, I see what you're saying. So swarms, you want to put a swarm trap up in your own yard to try and catch your swarms as they leave. So that's that scion one that kind of hangs down with a frame, easy to see. So any kind of swarm trap will work though. So you want to try and, step one, catch my own swarms. And then step two, I wouldn't, so when you say when they abscond or they've swarmed.
Right, yours have swarmed.
Uh-huh.
The expectation is storm season, so some other
Sure.
person's storm is going to be coming through. You want to try to capture a storm, but you don't want to capture it in your primary yard.
Right. So when I put my swarm traps up, I've got them everywhere. I've got them in places that I've picked up swarms. I usually ask people, especially if I've come back several years in a row, can I put a swarm trap here? They're okay because they don't really want them moving in permanently, so they are okay for us usually to put swarm traps on their property.
Any lures that you put near your property is your attempt to catch your own.
Sure. And I would put that in my apiary because I'm trying to catch my own, right? If I catch another one, then I would probably move them to my quarantine yard. All right, but it's a little hard to tell. Is this mine? Is this someone else's? I mean, all I can tell is, did my hive swarm? It's a guessing game, but I would probably move them just to be sure. Sir? So all eggs are fed royal jelly for 3 days, right? So royal jelly comes from the worker bees, right, their forehead. So they feed it to all larvae for 3 days, and then after that, anyone who's not going to be a queen gets fed pollen and nectar. It's a mixture called bee bread. Anyone they want to be a queen, they will continue to feed royal jelly all the way up until she's capped. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
This might be really simple, but I'm new to this.
No, no, it's okay.
Are honeybees the only bees that swarm? So when you get that call, do you know that it's coming from a honeybee swarm?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I have never gone to a swarm and it's not been honeybees. I have gone to people who said bees moved into my house or they want bees removed and they're yellow jackets. That's happened often, quite often, but never a swarm. I've never had a swarm not be a swarm. Any other questions? I'm sorry? Boy, it sure was nice to meet you. I sure hope you can fix that. Can I put a swarm trap out here for later? I don't remove yellow jackets. They're grumpy. They're hungry. There's not a honey flow on. Yeah. I mean that's normal. You know, even this time of year, my bees are all kind of cranky. It's still the nights are cool. They're slow to get up. They're. Yeah, that's pretty normal. It's pretty normal. It's kind of cranky. I would give them a little time. If they don't shape up, if they start to get a little worse, they may have requeened on their own and you didn't know it. And so you may have a whole different genetic in there, and so they may be just a less nice set of bees.
We finally found the queen we've been looking for a year.
Oh, yeah. It's right. They're wily little buggers. Yeah. That's why when you have that box that I showed you with the 5 frames and it's full of bees, and I'm like, we should find the queen. I mean, that's impossible. So that's why we built our shaker box. We shake them out so we can find them. Any other questions? Oh, yes, sir.
When I catch a queen, I put a piece of plastic queen excluder over the entrance and leave it there until
Gotcha.
I see them bring pollen in.
Oh, okay. So what he's talking about is, and this is a great idea too. So you can, when you catch a swarm, it's got to be a prime swarm. It's got to be your first swarm. It's got to be the old queen because she's mated. You can put a queen excluder between your bottom box and the bottom board so that everybody can come in and out and she can't. So your entrance is on your bottom board and you've got your deep sitting right here. So if you put a queen excluder between those two, she can't get down to the bottom board to leave. It's a great way to keep them from absconding. The problem with that is if she is not an old queen, if she's a new queen, she can't get out and mate. So you're kind of back to that problem of, is this a virgin queen or is this a mated queen? You know, it's hard to tell, but you are correct, that works. So if you're pretty sure it's a prime swarm, you know, that's a great way to keep them in. I've done that too.
Virgin queen, they'll all leave anyway.
Yeah, right. It's a done deal.
I was almost about to ask, I see my friend is here. I was going to ask her a question. So she captured quite a bit of swarms. The question is, how long do you have to wait for example, wax moths would show up?
Oh, that's a great question. You don't know. You do have to check your swarm traps occasionally and see if wax moths have moved in. Yeah, it's kind of it's a problem that, you know, they can.
And then this might be my last question.
It's okay. Ask as many as you want.
Before you come down, will you go back to the slide that has characteristics? I know it's way back in the
The one of the breeds?
right.
Okay.
I saw it here.
Sure. It is a ways back. I probably could do it easier on the...
Probably escape the slideshow.
I'm already moving in this direction. You can't make me go back. Can only do one thing at a time. And it's probably getting close. Well, I say that. Does anybody else have any questions while I'm doing this?
Do the separation of putting two bee boxes
Oh, so hang on, because I'm going to have to use my hands. There it is. Okay, so I'm taking I'm going to split, right? I'm going to split this hive. So I'm going to take my new box that I'm going to put them into, and I'm going to take another deep that has a queen excluder nailed onto the bottom. I'm going to set it on top, and I'm going to take the frames out of this one. I'm going to shake them, right? So, I smoke them. They go right down into the hive, and the queen is left. So, it's as fast as I can kind of go, as fast as they'll go down into the hive. I'm sorry?
It's 3 boxes. You have one box that you're splitting.
Right, I'm splitting this box. This is the one I'm splitting it into.
You have 3 boxes, with the bottom box having frames.
Sure, frames of pulled out, comb, whatever you're doing. If you're kind of in an emergency situation, it's what you got, so what you got, right? But that's how we find our queen in a large population. So I just shake them till I find her, capture her, then I do the split, and then I put her in the box I want to put her in.
You make a shaker box. Line the very top of it.
Oh, with duct tape. Yeah, and they really won't fly, I will tell you, everything has its drawback. One time we were working our hives, and I saw my queen walk away. And I tell you what, it made me panic, because we're working them, this is Matt, and I'm like, wait, that's our queen. And we both kind of dived after her, and she went into the grass, and she didn't come back. So, just it happens to everybody. This is kind of crazy stuff. They're wild animals. Any other questions? Thank you guys so very much. I appreciate your letting me come talk. It's been great to come back.
Well, no, I'm just gonna give a small gift for
Oh, thank you so
her.
much.
But thank you for coming, we appreciate it.
Yeah, will you turn me off? Before I swear?
All right, thank you very much, Michelle. That was a great presentation. Swarm catching is a lot of fun. If you've never done it, you just got to try one. Like she said, the free swarms that are hanging on a low branch, those are the easiest, and you think you're a master beekeeper. It's the ones that are 50 feet up in the air that you're just going, I don't know. But anyway, it is a very good, easy way to expand your abilities. I would encourage everyone to at least try to catch one swarm, just so they can get the feel of it. Thank you very much for coming. Tonight we had 125 members and 17 visitors. I hope that you'll have a wonderful Easter break and come back with us in May. Remember the picnic on May 4th at Breckenridge Park. It runs from 12 to 4 o'clock, and that is in Richardson. I really hope to see you there. Thank you and have a good night.